The meaning of spring is universally understood as a time of beginnings in a human life. It maps to childhood, a brief, vibrant window dedicated entirely to play, learning, and growth. But that window is fragile. When the demands of basic survival intervene too early, that season is entirely bypassed. Across India, tens of thousands of children grow up on the margins of major cities, sleeping on station platforms and walking the streets without shoes. Boys like Sahib in the urban sprawl of Delhi and Mukesh in the industrial dust of Firozabad navigate completely different landscapes, yet their daily routines are dictated by the exact same necessity. For these children, the requirement of staying alive demands a total commitment of their daylight hours. The play and dreams associated with spring are replaced by a cycle of labor that begins almost as soon as they can walk. Sahib and the landscape of possibility Simpuri sits on the periphery of Delhi. It is a dense, makeshift settlement of mud structures patched together with tin and tarpaulin, lacking running water and basic drainage. Most of the 10,000 people living here arrived decades ago, fleeing natural disasters that repeatedly swept away their homes and green fields in Bangladesh. Without formal permits or identities, they sustained themselves through a highly organized system of rag picking. To the older generation, the refuse of the city is strictly a commodity. It pays for the leaking roofs over their heads. But for the children sifting through these massive piles, the garbage takes on a different texture. It is a landscape of possibility. Sahib digs through the mounds day after day, driven by the chance of uncovering a stray 10-rupee note or perhaps a single overlooked silver coin. He and his friends move in a barefoot army, appearing with the morning light and vanishing by noon, answering to no one but themselves. The poverty is absolute, but this lack of structure grants Sahib a quiet autonomy. He moves through the city on his own terms. Mukesh in the glass furnaces of Firozabad 200 meters away in Firozabad, that open-air autonomy disappears entirely, replaced by unventilated, soot-stained rooms. This town is the center of India's glass-blowing industry. Here, families, including Mukesh's, spend generations clustered around high-temperature furnaces, welding colored glass into circles. Working in these dark hutments by the light of flickering oil lamps forces their eyes to adjust to the shadows rather than natural daylight. The constant exposure to the intense heat and airborne glass dust causes many workers to go permanently blind before reaching adulthood. It is a physical trap reinforced by deep social conditioning. The elders in Mukesh community view this labor as a God-given lineage, a permanent destiny dictated entirely by the caste they were born into. Mukesh refuses to accept that lineage. He insists he will learn to drive a car and become a motor mechanic. In a town where every other yard is piled high with spirals of gold and royal blue, stating an intention to leave the furnace is an act of quiet rebellion. The extinguishment of imagination, years of mind-numbing toil usually destroy all initiative. The true hazard of the Bengal industry is how effectively it extinguishes a child's capacity to imagine another life. The loss of freedom eventually, the reality of physical survival catches up. Months later, Sahib is no longer sifting through the garbage dumps of his neighborhood, he is working down the road at a local tea stall. On paper, his situation has improved. He earns a fixed salary of 800 rupees a month, and all of his daily meals are guaranteed. But the mechanics of his daily routine have shifted. The light plastic bag he used to carry over his shoulder has been replaced by a heavy steel canister. The plastic bag was his own property. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop, and the carefree expression Sahib once carried has vanished. In exchange for a reliable source of food, he gave up his independence. Sahib is no longer his own master. Holding on to defiance, Mukesh, for now, continues to walk the dusty streets of Firozabad, his eyes fixed on the cars driving past his town. His declaration that he will be a mechanic remains an active defiance against the same economic pressures that eventually forced Sahib to accept the tea stall. The question is how long that resolve can withstand the grinding routine of the glass furnaces, and whether he too will eventually have to trade his ambition for a steady wage. One boy secured his physical survival by sacrificing his freedom. The other holds on to his freedom, hoping it will be enough to pull him out of the fire. Absolute destitution forces a permanent surrender of a child's future. For these boys, the spring of their lives was not just lost, it was never allowed to begin.